Hello everyone, welcome live to 3YTV, tonight's broadcast of the GTR Simulator Superspeedway Series in the National Sim Racing Association. I am Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is none other than Mitchell Adams. And Mitchell, we're back at Talladega here tonight for the final time this season. Just 2 races left in this particular championship. Going to be a lot of fun to see as, oh my goodness, Matthew Rodriguez is upside down behind the logo graphic, bouncing around, doing some breakdancing for all the fans in the stands. Hopefully he doesn't do all too much breakdancing here tonight, but he was breakdancing after his win last week at Monza Oval in what definitely is going to be one of the craziest finishes that we've ever seen here on the channel.
Yeah, last week at Monza, definitely an exciting race, and I was really lucky to be down there, a part of it. And coming back to a little more traditional NASCAR track this week for these trucks, there's a bit of a party going on down there near the start-finish line we're taking a look at. A lot of drivers practicing their burnouts, but yeah, I think definitely getting toward the end of the season here, the intensity is really going to pick up as drivers just kind of disappearing there off the edge. Yeah, so I think, Peter, that this is going to be one of the more intense races we've seen, and we've seen some intense racing, but I think drivers, as we get closer to the end of the season, really trying to get every point we can get.
Yeah, that is for sure. And speaking of the point standings, Matthew Rodriguez enters tonight with a 33-point advantage over Colin Ullery. William Kirwan is sitting third in points, so Matthew Rodriguez, who has 3 less starts than William Kirwan, impressively now has the points lead. And a big factor in that, Mitchell, is the fact that Rodriguez has 4 wins in only 7 starts in a Superspeedway series. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, these races, really, if you can work the draft and find yourself in the right spot, it's really difficult to win, though, because there's so many drivers that have a chance here on these super speedways versus other kinds of racing. And so to find yourself winning 4 out of 7 starts is just incredible numbers here.
Yeah, that is absolutely for sure. So the time is ticking down just ever so quickly here. Now you do see 30 minutes and 38 seconds kind of at the top of your screen, but that's really not true. This race still going green here in just about 6 or 7 minutes from now. But here tonight in the GTR Simulator Superspeedway Series, they wanted to give just a little bit extra time to the particular practice session. Don't know if the iRacing session was configured exactly correctly, but we'll still be going green at the normal time here tonight, folks. There is Kyle Lewis, currently 12th on the board, but we've seen some great qualifying runs out of the number 18 machine as he heads down the backstretch here. But we'll definitely be having our eyes on Matthew Rodriguez here tonight. William Kirwan and Colin Ullery, the top 3 drivers in the point standings entering tonight's event. You can see checkered flag has been thrown here on the qualifying session here for tonight's event. And we just want to mention, folks, if you haven't seen it in the chat here tonight, it is, of course, the stream to end Multiple Sclerosis 150 here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway. We want to thank each and every one of you for joining us in the chat as we jump over into the qualifying session. There is a poll going on right now, and the poll is, will Matthew Rodriguez continue his dominance tonight? 4 people have said no. 1 person is unsure. They voted maybe. That's the easy way out, Mitchell. Just to vote maybe. It's like, well, yeah, maybe. You guys have to be definite. Yes or no? Come on, guys. But we want to thank each and every one of you in the chat for joining and participating in the polls, a relatively new feature to YouTube streaming. We've been making utilization of it over the past week or so that it's been out, and we've been having a lot of fun with it, Mitchell.
Yeah, I noticed it when I jumped on the stream, so that's really kind of a cool way. We got 1 person said yes now, Peter, so there's somebody thinks he will. Qualifying is getting started now, looking at the 14 of Stephen Ford as he's getting his lap started, running kind of along the wall like we've been seeing all season, trying to carry that momentum. But yeah, I'm not sure. I voted no on that poll because I just think, 4 races is a lot, but I think there's 17 other drivers in the field tonight with just as good a chance. So I'll take the no. What about you, Peter?
I think he will. I like his strategy. I love the fact that he lays back and really only starts to charge to the front of the field right at the very end of the race. I love that strategy. It's working out for him. It's working out for him extremely well as well. I mean, that's how he's got those 4 wins. He's one of those drivers, doesn't go up there, doesn't push early in the race, but when it becomes go time, he's always up there. And that is how you win championships. You don't win races on lap 5. You don't win championships on lap 5. There's no points to be gained on lap number 5. But at the end of the race, that is how you become a champion. And I like his strategies for sure. We're looking at John Cannizzaro in the number 10, typically driven by Monty Glover. Still has Monty Glover on the top of the number 10 truck. We've seen John Cannizzaro, Mitchell, for the last couple of weeks be very quick in that number 10 Chevy Silverado. I'm expecting to see more of that here tonight. We know he's one of those drivers out there who really tries to go out there and have a lot of fun. Stephen Ford in the number 14, however, the threat level Midnight Chevy, currently the fastest qualifier here, but he is now on his second lap, and we expect the second lap to be a little bit better than the first here with the way these trucks get wound up with the tapered spacer, restrictor plate, whatever you want to call it, that limits the horsepower that all these trucks have.
Yeah, time's starting to come in now as we're watching. I think Stephen Ford's still finishing up his lap. Yeah, that's why we see the drivers kind of running high and then go low on the second lap. But I think we've probably talked about that enough. Probably the fans of 3Y TV probably been hearing that all season, and hopefully you've learned a thing or two about the tapered spacer packages. Here's Colin Ullery coming across the line to complete his first lap. See where that lands him second on the speed chart. Stephen Ford currently on top, and as I say that, I think Jeffrey Vickery leaped to the top of the speed charts. A lot of drivers right now coming to get those second laps in, as a few still out there finishing up. 10 drivers have taken a lap time so far. But like we've seen all season, kind of like we do at these super speedways, kind of pretty close lap times. So really, we have 55 laps, so these drivers definitely have a challenge as I'm stumbling over my words, Peter. These drivers definitely, in the smaller field we have tonight, qualifying position, not maybe as important because there's fewer trucks to go over than we've been seeing a lot of the season, but still a lot of bragging rights here in qualifying.
Yeah, we were seeing maybe just 17 drivers in the field here tonight, which, like you mentioned, is a small field. I mean, I'm not seeing the number 8 machine of Andrew Himmelman in the race here tonight. Of course, that SimShots number 8 truck, always a staple up at the front of the field, at least early in the race. He's been having some pretty bad luck over the last couple of weeks in the GTR Simulator Superspeedway Series. We're right on board here with Kyle Lewis. He will just have enough time to complete his second lap. Now, I believe Kyle Lewis won the pole last time we were here at Talladega, but I don't think this lap is going all too well for him. Currently 12th out of the 12 drivers to take time. Mike Floppy Tellier putting in a lap time. Not often does Mike actually turn a lap. Good enough for 4th position as we see Kyle Lewis coming to the line right here just before the timer expires. I don't know. The clock might not have counted that lap. I thought he just had enough time, but doesn't look like he did. So that second lap won't count for him, and he's going to have to start well back in the field here tonight. Let's see if we can bring up tonight's starting lineup here, Mitchell. And Mitchell, why don't you start us out with that front row?
Yeah, starting on your front row, Jeffrey Vickery took home the pole with his teammate Stephen Ford starting in second. Colin Ullery, your defending champion, who's second place in points right now, going to line up third with Mike Floppy Tellier to his outside in fourth. Alonso Chicanos is going to be rolling off fifth with John Cannizzaro sixth. John Doble starts seventh with William Kirwan in eighth, Stephen Doziak Jr. ninth, and Ben Adams round out your top 10. Starting in the 11th position will be Travis White with Kyle Lewis to his outside in 12th. I don't believe JT Poole will be starting the race, but Cam Caldwell will be in the 14th position. Dalton Hayes is 15th, and Matthew Rodriguez, the driver we're really watching, not taking time in qualifying, so he'll start 16th, and Shane Ledoux is going to round out the field in the 17th position.
Yeah, and you know what? I went to click a button, I accidentally muted my mic. Don't you just hate when that happens? But here tonight, folks, it is going to be a lot of fun. We'll see whether or not these drivers all get out there on the racetrack. Like you said there, Mitchell, seems like we're missing a few. Dalton Hayes not on the racetrack right now. JT Poole, Travis White finally popping up there on the starting grid. Just waiting to see that iRacing pace car start to roll off. A great looking crowd there on the bottom of the screen. They look maybe a bit stiff, maybe need to work out or something. I don't know. They look a bit static, but I'll tell you, if I was them, I wouldn't be static here in about a lap, because when the green flag drops here tonight, it is going to be a lot of fun. 2 and 3 wide action here on 3 Wide TV, as always, here in the GTR Simulator Superspeedway series. Just making sure that everything is all going well in the YouTube stream. Looks like all of my numbers are coming back good. I was a little bit concerned we might have some breakups here tonight. I don't know what it is about Talladega, but it seems like every time we come to Talladega here on 3 Wide TV, something happens to the stream. So hopefully those gremlins are not rearing their heads again here tonight as they start to roll off with Vickery and his teammate. Couple of those threat level midnight machines on the front row. Gonna be a lot of fun here tonight. I've been looking forward to this one, Mitchell. The season winding down, only one race left after tonight. That is, of course, back at Daytona International Speedway next week. July 29th is going to be the bumpy version of Daytona, which is going to make that race a heck of a lot of fun, and that will round out this season's GTR Simulator Superspeedway series. And I'm just checking to see whether or not they have uploaded a new season. So far, not seeing it, so I think we're going to be a little bit in the dark on what they're going to do next season in this championship. I haven't seen anything in any of the team channels or anything like that to indicate to what's going to happen next season, but we might find out by next week's race at Daytona International Speedway to close out the season, and we'll crown another Superspeedway Series champion.
Yeah, and bumpy Daytona, legacy Daytona, that definitely, I think, always puts on one of the best shows we see, so I can't have thought of a better track for the season finale for this brand of the GTR Simulator Superspeedway series to take place on. And right now, Matthew Rodriguez looks poised at the top of the points. I believe he has a 33-point lead over your defending champion, Colin Ullery. So definitely a good run here today for Rodriguez, going to really solidify his position going into next week. But you never know on these super speedways. As the iRacing pace car pulling down toward the pit road, we're about to get this race underway.
Everyone waiting to see that green flag here, coming down at just 65 miles an hour. Pace car, like you said, coming down to its stopping point. Hopefully we don't see much of the pace car leading the field here tonight. Hopefully a lot of clean and green racing, as you see a little bit smaller field than what we're typically used to here in the GTR Simulator Superspeedway series, folks. Make sure you check out GTR Simulator's website. There is a link in the description. Meanwhile, we are green flag at Talladega as they head off to turn number 1.
Yeah, pretty good restart for that outside lane. Great push coming from the 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier to the 14 of Stephen Ford, but going through that turn, that inside lane starting to prevail with Colin Ullery pushing. But here on the backstretch, just kind of like we would expect, that outside lane gets a pretty big run. Stephen Ford going to pull even with his teammate Jeffrey Vickeries. They're already over they are over 180 miles an hour headed into turn 3, so really quickly up to speed. And that outside lane, we've been seeing it a lot this season. I think traditionally on iRacing, we expect it to go away, but really these drivers all season have done a great job really getting that outside lane to speed quickly.
Yeah, and part of that in this particular instance is the number 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier hounding the back bumper of Stephen Ford. Ooh, almost a bad bump there. I think Stephen Ford got a little bit loose with a little bit of help from the Flat Out Racing Network FRN number 97 right there. Mike Floppy Tellier tucked up behind Stephen Ford now. But you and I know, Mitchell, that a little bit of bad contact can end up with a bunch of junked up race trucks in a hurry.
Yeah, I know. I can speak from experience with that, and I'm sure you probably can too, Peter, that there's such a fine line in the pushing here. If you just get a few inches off that back bumper of the truck, as we're seeing Mike Tellier kind of go toward the back of the field, which is going to kind of kill the momentum for the outside lane. But if you're just slightly off the bumper where you need to be or too close to the corner panels, that can send that truck in front of you around. And especially when you're up near the front of the field, that can collect a lot of trucks with you. So when you see the aggressive pushing this early on, like we see Colin Ullery just hooked up, there's a lot of speed there, but it also runs a really high risk of possibly wrecking some trucks.
Absolutely, and we've seen that multiple times this season in this series as they all head down the back straight, now kind of jostling for position. We saw that William Kirwan, he ducked up to the high line, and now he's going to have to go, contact right up the front of the field, and how did they save that? Jeffrey Vickery and Alonso Chicano having contact, and that's going to really break up the field. We're going to have to catch that one on the 3-wide TV replay. Meanwhile, we stay green flag, but Mitchell, that was huge right at the front of the field.
Yeah, I saw Chicano managed to get under Colin Ullery, but then headed into the corner, tried to get under Shane Ledoux too, and just Ledoux didn't quite leave him enough room. I don't know, but I'm curious to see what the series thinks of that, because Chicano did dip under that yellow line just a little. I don't know if the NSRA will think it was forced under, or how they'll rule on that, but yeah, definitely. It's things like that we talked about, Peter, that can really quickly just change the complexion of these races. And we went from just one pack kind of running together, and now there's already two different packs. Colin Ullery has inherited the lead as we ride on board now with that 21, who just went from the lead all the way down to 16th. That's the last truck on the field. So really quickly, he went from the lead to all the way to the back. As we're looking back now up at that front pack, Colin Ullery leads the field, your defending champion, and he's right up in the race lead, and his championship competitor, Matthew Rodriguez, is in that second pack in 12th position. So I bet Ullery kind of likes his position after that, but man, he almost got wrecked. That was really tight up at the front.
Yeah, for sure. Look at this, though, his other contender for the championship, that is the number 52 machine of William Kirwan. He's getting, oh my goodness, like now almost four wide. Tellier on the high side. We are four wide. A couple of your championship contenders in that four wide battle. They sort things out now, just back to three wide. But I'll tell you what here, Mitchell, again, we've seen this multiple times this season where these drivers in the opening couple of laps race extremely hard. And sometimes it has led to early race accidents and a couple of drivers having to use their faster pair in the opening 5 to 10 laps. Of course, here in the GTR Simulator Superspeedway series, you get one faster pair, and that's it. Once you use that one faster pair, if you get any extra damage, Mitchell, you're going to have damage to fix, and your pit crew doesn't always fix all that damage here in the iRacing Simulator. Oh, contact! The 23 of Travis White up in the wall. My goodness, going up and over and over and over and over. He's now back to earth, but that will bring out the first caution flag of the night. Just as I was talking about damage and contact, it is struck here. And the number 23 of Travis White looks like he's going to be the driver most affected by this. Let's see what happened here in the 3-wide TV replay. And it looks like Tellier just came up the racetrack, clipped the number 23, and they both ended up in the wall.
Yeah, I think the 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier just kind of thought he was clear when he wasn't, and came right up into the 23. You see the 47 of Dalton Hayes collected by that, but man, that's an impact. He got sent backwards. He hit that wall so hard.
Yeah, and given the old gyro cam a workout right there. So let's see if we can go back and see what all happened here. Let's see it from onboard the number 23 machine, because I think what you're going to see here is Mike Floppy Tellier just come right up the racetrack across the nose of the number 23 machine. There he is, right up into the wall. And unfortunately, the number 47 machine that you saw right there of Dalton Hayes also involved before going up and over and over and over in the Simbox machine. That is a big shame right there. So let's see right here. Let's watch out back of the number 97 machine. We'll get another look at this from Dalton Hayes in just a second. There is Dalton Hayes right up there, and yeah, Tellier just goes up the racetrack, and unfortunately, that number 23 machine just gets flung backwards. Good old iRacing physics right there. Sometimes you just gotta chuckle at it, but I'm sure right now, if you're Travis White, you're probably not chuckling at it, unfortunately. that number 23 machine is on pit road. Let's see it from Dalton Hayes' view right here. Let's see this initial contact right there, and Hayes thought he had it cleared, gets clipped in the right rear, back up into the wall. Quite a bit of damage. I expect him to use one of those faster pairs we were just talking about, Mitchell.
Yeah, really, only 3 trucks involved in that one. It could have been a lot worse, but yeah, just definitely unfortunate for Dalton Hayes especially. Looked like he got through it, and then that truck, Travis White, that's who it was, Peter, just kind of came back down after hitting the wall, and there's not much he can do to keep it out of that 47 in that situation. But the leader's hitting pit road right now. Colin Ellery was leading under that caution, and it looks like he'll retain the lead out of pit road, and I believe Travis White in that 23's retired that car, just not electing to take the faster pair and calling it a night. So unfortunate to end so early for the 23 of Travis White. Is a lot of cars, I think, taking longer on pit road than they maybe would have. So maybe a few with some damage to get repaired here.
Well, we know that number 21 there, Jeffrey Vickery, he was involved in that contact that did not bring out a caution in turn number 4, where they just kind of got jumbled up. Alonso Chicano went below the yellow line. I'm sure some people were thinking that maybe that was a little bit too early to be making those types of moves, and unfortunately a couple of those trucks with pretty hefty damage. Vickery and Stephen Ford, the 2 teammates on pit road. Shane Ledoux also still on pit road as well. So all 3 of the Threat Level Midnight machines in their pit box with the Threat Level Midnight crew going to work. Hopefully they are wide awake and can get the job done for those teams to get back out there and not have to use a faster pair. Travis White, not on the racetrack right now. We highlighted that. Dalton Hayes, there is the number 47. He elected not to use a faster pair. That's an interesting call there, Mitchell, because that number 47 truck looks pretty tore up, at least from the angles we have here. I don't know if Dalton is watching the broadcast. The left side of the truck looks fine, but it's the right side that looks really beaten up, where it made some heavy contact with the wall.
Yeah, I think that right side, you can see that right front really crinkled up. I'm surprised he didn't take the faster pair, but I mean, if it works out for him, he'll save one for later. And like we talked about, all that aggression, he might need that faster pair later, but I'm kind of skeptical of how well that's going to work out for him. But we're up here in the booth, and we don't necessarily know what the driver and all the crew are thinking about it. So as we're looking, excuse me, as I just noticed the little "I like to go fast" thing, Peter, and that kind of caught me off. I like that.
Yeah, that is something that he has put himself on his profile. So there's Mike Floppy Tellier on pit road right now in the number 97 machine coming to his pit box. I think that was definitely a use of a faster pair, because the number 97 doesn't really have any damage on it. Travis White still not out there, multiple laps down. I think it is night done, unfortunately, for the number 23. That will be a big shame for him. However, Colin Ullery, the number 62, is your race leader with William Kirwan to the outside of him. You see the pace car lights have turned off. That is good news. Getting set to go back green, riding on board here with the number 52 of William Kirwan. And the big question here I'm going to ask you, Mitchell, if you're William Kirwan or Colin Ullery, are you going to team up here tonight? Because you got to have your eyes on the big prize, and the big prize is the championship. Matthew Rodriguez in the number 57 has that stronghold on the championship lead right now, and the only way to really have a shot next week at Daytona is to beat Matthew Rodriguez, and to beat him big.
I think that changes driver to driver. I think looking at the points, Colin Ellery, I'd say yes, because he has a 25-point lead over William Kirwan. If you're William Kirwan, I think you come into this race needing to make up points not only on Matthew Rodriguez, but also Colin Ellery. So I think Colin would be willing to work with William if it'd help him out, because he has the points to give up. But I think William's in a position where he really just needs to find the points himself tonight. So definitely an interesting position for a lot of these drivers. And you also have Mike Tellier, we've talked about. He's only 5 points behind William Kirwan. So he's also kind of in a position where if he can make up some points tonight, he's also sitting kind of pretty going into the final races. The iRacing pace car is off, and Colin Ullery getting ready to lead the field back to green all the way through the tri-oval. Really not quite as good a start for that outside lane. William Kirwan and Ben Adams really the only two that kind of got even a decent restart there, I think, as the field already kind of pretty much gone down to the bottom as they head through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can see our cam down there getting a good look of all the cars getting wound up to speed as they head down the backstretch, already clicking up towards 180 miles an hour down the backstretch, and we're side by side for the race lead with Ullery and Kirwan. We saw those two lead us to the green flag, but Kirwan has absolutely no help up there in that number 52. Maybe has Matthew Rodriguez back there coming to pick him up. He has Alonso Chicano behind him, but Rodriguez and Chicano says, you know what, we're just going to go to the high line here. Those two trying to push themselves up to the front here, Mitchell. They started well back on this restart, and they've just got themselves together, doing a little bit of a two-truck tandem, and almost got themselves to the front too. That's extremely impressive.
Yeah, really good job pushing by Alonso Chicano. He's pushing that 57 to Matthew Rodriguez really quickly up through the field in about a lap. I think that inside lane really probably just not pushing as much, and those two really, you've got about a lap or two of doing that before these engines start to get hot, so definitely made good use of it, did Alonso Chicano there, as they're already up at the front of the field, and now we see that kind of trigger John Cannizzaro to push a little more, but William Kirwan trying to make it 3 wide up on the high side. Doesn't look like anybody's going to go with him, so Kirwan probably set to drop back through the field now unless somebody decides to let him in or kind of jump up and help him, as he's keeping kind of even so far, but that momentum probably about to start falling off soon, as that run from Rodriguez kind of, well, I was going to say it fizzled out a little, but here they go again, kind of resurging a little bit as they've added a few more trucks, and Kirwan able to slot in lane 4th in the high line, and a really good push here coming from Chicano, Peter. They're going to be even as they head down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that outside line finally able to get up to the front. Chicano continuing to push the number 57, and Cam Caldwell in the 02, the In the Pits news machine right there behind Alonso Chicano. So those two teammates working together. Of course, the 05 of Chicano also has In the Pits news on the hood of his truck, doing a spectacular job as we are 2 by 2 at this current junction of the race. Just got through the first 11 laps. A bit of a long one here tonight, 55 laps, as Matthew Rodriguez going to lead the lap, get the bonus point for doing so. Now the outside line with William Kirwan, and that being the 02 of Cam Caldwell. They're going to try and get themselves up to the front. They just saw what Rodriguez and Chicano did. They want to do the same things themselves to get up to the front.
And it wasn't the smoothest transition to the bottom either. Chicano kind of hit Rodriguez a little bit on the way down, so that probably, I think, got Rodriguez a little squirrely as Chicano blinked out just a little bit there. I believe might still be gone. Nope, he's back. In the middle of Colin Ullery. That's an interesting approach to this race. Yeah, that's really going to slow that inside lane down now. And there goes, I believe, I'm trying to see who got up to the front. I can't quite see. It's William Kirwan got up to the front of the pack because of that, but definitely an internet-y moment there for Alonso Chicano. It's just kind of something that happens sometimes in sim racing, but looking back up front, that shifted it up a lot. It's now a battle between the 21 of Jeffrey Vickery and that 52 of William Kirwan for the race lead.
Yeah, Vickery was also able to take advantage of that internet hiccup that we saw there out of Alonso Chicano, and Vickery himself able to pull level with the number 52 of William Kirwan. So Kirwan leading his first lap of the race, that last lap. So pretty much all of our championship top 3 have led here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway, trying to show their muscle early on in the race, but it isn't a 10-lap sprint that will get you the points. It is a 55-lap race here tonight in the stream to end MS 150, although it isn't 150 at all. That was what the race was advertised as. And if you actually do the math, you'll find out that tonight's race, because this is, almost contact. William Kirwan pushing the 0-2 of Cam Caldwell all the way up the racetrack. That was almost a big moment. Looks like Caldwell going to pick up Matthew Rodriguez here at the front of the field. But the race here tonight is actually 146.3 miles, if you do the math there, Mitchell. And we have about 20% of the race in the books, just a little bit more than that. Kirwan looks like he's going to hold on to the lead with Colin Ullery coming in second place in points, right back behind the driver, third place in points, the 52 of William Kirwan.
Yeah, those top three in points, one all up inside that top four right now. So this is not the position Colin Ullery and William Kirwan want to be in, because Matthew Rodriguez is right up there with them. But we talked about, would they have to work together? Well, they're kind of in a position right now where they're having to work together whether they want to or not. So kind of even right now, but I think for them the most important thing is going to be keeping that 57 of Rodriguez kind of up in the high line, unable to get in front of him. But they've got a lot of work to do if they want to gain, I think, the points they need to tonight in order to be close enough into next week's series finale to have maybe an easier night than they could. Is that inside is kind of getting formed back up. I think a few laps ago they were really kind of spread out, but they've really formed themselves back up again, and we see Ullery right on the bumper of Kirwan. Same thing up in the top lane with Cam Caldwell being pushed really hard by Matthew Rodriguez, but the inside lane starting to resurge. I noticed there's three teammates there, the three SimShots cars, 2, 3, 4 on the inside, so I'd watch for those those three to maybe possibly make a run on Kirwan if they can get cleared of the outside lane.
Absolutely. Just want to go check out the chat here tonight. We have Daniel Noble joining us here saying, turn it up to 11. Come on, no yellow flags. That's right. We don't like to see caution flags here in the GTR Simulator Superspeedway series. We want to see good green flag, clean racing, and potentially even green flag pit stops. I mean, how many times have we seen races won or lost on green flag pit stops this season there, Mitchell? Green flag pit stops here in this particular series, we don't always see them in races. We didn't see them last week at Monza in what was just the most wacky race, probably the second most wacky race we've seen this season, behind the other Monza race. Barrel rolling finish as we have a lead change here at Talladega, Colin Ullery. But folks, going back to that last point, if you did not see last week's race, you have to go at least watch the final 3 laps of that. It was absolutely wild and zany. I've never seen another finish like it. There's never been a finish in real life where someone was barrel rolling across the start-finish line to win the race. I would say, Mitchell, it reminded me of something you'd see on Talladega nights. That is last week's race to a T.
Yeah, definitely the 2 races we've had at Monza this season, I really just think they were fantastic finishes for two different reasons. But I think that last Thursday's was definitely really exciting, seeing trucks winning the race up in the air, almost hitting the flag man. As I know that my race, Peter, was lost on a green flag pit stop, and that's usually how it goes for me in this series. So I can speak to how critical those pit stops can be. As this race here looking to get a little more single file now. William Kirwan trying to make something happen there up on the outside lane. Doesn't really have any help back to the 55 of Steven Doziak. There's quite a gap there. I think the move I kind of talked about, those 3 teammates there on the inside just kind of went up above William Kirwan and made the pass. So I kind of watching them play together as they've now got the 57 with them. Matthew Rodriguez has slotted himself down onto the inside lane now as the outside lane. Ooh, some close side drafting there. That's Ben Adams, and that's William Kirwan. It's Kirwan getting a pretty good run now down the back straightaway. Really drafted off Ben Adams, but we're riding on board the back of John Cannizzaro up almost 185 miles an hour. So these trucks, I think definitely that's pretty fast compared to what we've been seeing. So I think the pace right now really getting pushed.
Yeah, riding on board right now with your point shooter Matthew Rodriguez behind the number 5 of Ben Adams. You see William Kirwan. Well, you don't see William Kirwan anymore because, there he is, just on the right side. the screen, I was saying that that outside line looked like it might have just been petering out just a little bit, but as I say that, a little bit of a resurgence from the outside line, and that's typically what you see on these super speedways, Mitchell. They kind of yo-yo back and forth, and part of that yo-yoing back and forth is because you're having to gauge the distance to the truck in front of you. You can see right here, we're on board with Matthew Rodriguez. He's still got a little bit of a gap to the number 5 of Ben Adams, but as that closes up, you see him let off. You don't want to bump draft the car in front of you, or the truck in this instance, a little bit too hard, and sometimes that kind of seesawing back and forth can lead to just a little bit of inefficiency when it comes to the draft. Although at this stage of the race, it might not be the time to give the car in front of a push, especially where you are in this position, because Matthew Rodriguez can't see in front of Ben Adams. You can see here, folks, that the view is extremely limited because of that rear spoiler, that GTR Simulator rear spoiler that you can see right there. And so you can't really gauge how close the truck is in front of you to the truck in front of it. So, for example, if Matthew Rodriguez gives a bump draft, a big bump draft to Ben Adams in front of him, and Ben Adams has already given a bump draft to the truck in front of him, well, now all of a sudden you can kind of get a compounding contact, and it can go bad very, very quickly. Late in the race, Mitchell, you might see them do that, but at this point of the race, as we close in on the halfway mark in 5 laps or so from now, we'll probably see that in the last half of the race for sure.
I think a lot of drivers, Peter, pretty good. I think it's a pretty common courtesy just to not push when you're kind of farther behind and not one of those top 1 or 2, maybe 3 trucks, just because, it, like you said, it really stacks up the pack. As speaking of pushing, a big push from Ben Adams. John Cannizzaro got checked up somehow there, but yeah, I feel like in Matthew Rodriguez's position, I think he's more looking at which lane's better and do I need to jump up to the high line than anything else, because when you're like 4th or 5th in line, I say that, he moves up to the high line, you're kind of just along for the ride for however fast that 1st, 2nd, and 3rd truck can push you. Is Kirwan now going to drop down in front of Ullery to the race lead? But at this point of the race, it's more about analyzing which lane's going to get you to the front faster than anything else, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Matthew Rodriguez did with Alonso Chicano there earlier in the race, when just after that green flag restart. Went from well back in the field all the way up to like 3rd or 4th in a single lap. So I'm sure they figured something out there. Yes, it was a restart. Yes, maybe not every truck was wound up yet. Maybe they were able to use that draft to their benefit at that point before reaching terminal velocity, if you will, in the draft. But that's something that those drivers will have learned, and they might be able to use that little tidbit of knowledge later on in the race. Now, folks, we are probably closing in on green flag pit stops. There is an open poll right now, and that poll is looking more and more likely of whether or not we'll see green flag pit stops here tonight at the Talladega Superspeedway. These drivers were last on pit road on lap number 7. Man, I thought that William Kirwan might have just been kind of leaning on that yellow line, indicating that he might have been coming to pit road, but not this time by. Kirwan will flash across the start-finish line, lead another lap in the number 52 Kirwan Racing machine. Big shout out to Kirwan Racing. They do give out the Kirwan Racing Race Winner Award, which is 5 iRacing credits to the winner of each and every GTR Simulator Superspeedway Series event this season. And we have to go, of course, through some of our other series sponsors here tonight that are on board with this series. Of course, GTRsimulator.com, GTR Simulator, the series sponsor. Make sure you check them out if you want a sim rig. They are the place to go, absolutely. Of course, the BAM Auto Pole Award. We saw at the top of the show that the BAM Auto Pole Award went to the driver of the number 21 machine right there. There is your BAM Auto Pole Award winner of Jeffrey Vickery. Make sure you check them out. There is a not necessarily a link in the description. There's an email in the description. There's a phone number in the description. There's their location in the description. So if you're located close to Hudsonville, Michigan, go check out BAM Auto for all your auto needs. Of course, JR's Mobile Detailing, they sponsor the Lucky Dog Award. We haven't given one of those out yet here tonight. Only one caution flag. We did not have a driver 1 or more laps down at that point. We got Max Grafix, Beer Street Journal, and JKR Motorsports. And folks, how about we do a JKR Motorsports Crank It Up here on 3 Wide TV. Tune it up. And just like that, folks, we have drivers on pit road. The number 62 machine right here. Colin Ullery leading, John Cannizzaro, Ben Adams, William Kirwan. Those 4 trucks coming down to pit road. Hopefully you enjoyed the JKR Motorsports Crank It up here on 3 Wide TV. But up at the front of the field, there's a couple of the drivers who stayed out, a couple of the Radius racing machines. We had Radius in the chat here tonight. Thanks for stopping by. Radius, of course, rooting on the 02, the 05, the 57, and the 97. And they're all right there. Only the number 55 of Steven Doziak separates them. A little bit of an interloper there in the Total Unstock Racing Chevrolet. Just checking to see if there were any speeding penalties or anything of the sort. Definitely not seeing any of that. Who's coming down pit road this time? Looks like we had maybe one driver come down. That's Steven Doziak. Oh, here comes Kyle Lewis, Jeffrey Vickery coming down pit road, Dalton Hayes, the number 14, Stephen Ford, and Shane Ledoux. So threat level midnight on pit road right now. A couple of the Total Nonstop Racing Series drivers as well, Steven Doziak, Kyle Lewis, and then Dalton Hayes all down. So that leaves just about Radius Racing, the only real trucks out there. Them and John Doble will go on board right now with the number 3 machine of Doble. Right now, here he is halfway down the backstretch and trying to do all he can to keep with those 4 trucks in front of him. I think he should be good, though, here, Mitchell, to catch back up with them before coming down pit road.
Yeah, I think he's close enough in that draft that he's not going to have a problem. Plus, they'll be pitting, I expect, within a lap or two. Looks like Doble peeling off to go down to pit road, but none of them going with him. That's not maybe the greatest way to go down pit road unless he had to, but yeah, I feel like Matthew Rodriguez noticeably on a different strategy than his championship rivals. He's staying out, whereas William Kirwan and Colin Ullery both pitted on the same lap. So I think definitely Rodriguez kind of committed to running this out as long as he can, and I expect these 4 probably communicating when to pit in some way. But looking back in the pack, I feel like everybody really got spread out during the green flag pit stop. So once these guys pit, and I think I'm seeing Matthew Rodriguez calling out his pit stop this lap, I really am curious to see how it shakes out, because there's a lot of like 2 and 3 car groups, and I know William Kirwan kind of got off from the group of SimShots drivers. So yeah, he's kind of really fell off. He doesn't really have anybody helping him, so that's really not the position Kirwan wants to be in here.
Yeah, not sure why, but William Kirwan definitely having the longest pit lane time. Maybe overshot his pit box or something of the sort, but that was definitely not good for him. Meanwhile, our leaders are on pit road. There is the 97 of Tellier, Alonso Chicano, Cam Caldwell, and Matthew Rodriguez. The 4 Radius Racing trucks all in their pit box right now. We'll see how this group is able to run them down. We're on board right now with Colin Ullery in the sim shots, number 62. We know you can see the Radius Racing trucks. They are rolling here, and this is going to be interesting here because it looks like, surprisingly, Colin Ullery is just going to blast on by the Radius Racing team like they're standing still, still coming off pit road, and you can see hooked up there with Ben Adams and John Cannizzaro. So can the Radius Racing trucks run them down? That is a big question. But of course, looks like the Radius Racing trucks will pick up another group of cars, as here comes Jeffrey Vickery leading a small train. John Doble in the number 3 also in this group in the number 3 machine. So I think we're going to have a pretty good group of trucks in this particular group that we're seeing right now. And I think they'll be able to run down your front group as the laps go on here under green flag conditions. Let's go check out the chat here. The poll, someone voted no in the green flag pit stops. I can't tell who, but someone didn't quite get it. We'll end the poll because we did indeed see green flag pit stops here tonight. We got Daniel Noble saying, let's go Kimi. Of course, I think alluding to Kimi Räikkönen and Kimi's few races that he ran back in the day in the NASCAR Truck Series when he ran for Kyle Busch Motorsports. In fact, I don't think it was Kyle Busch Motorsports that he technically ran for. I think it was Joe Nemechek's team, if I remember correctly. But it was a fully provided car from Kyle Busch Motorsports. I think it was the Herky Jerky machine that Kimi Räikkönen ran. I've always wondered if once Kimi retires from F1, whether or not he'd go to NASCAR, but he's still doing all right in Formula 1, so I think he's plenty fine there. And also asking, how is Oliver? Oliver is my dog. I'm sure if you've listened to a couple of 3-wide TV streams, you will have heard Oliver in the background. He's doing very well. He is snuggled up right now on the couch with my lovely wife. And Johnny Williams rooting on the number 18 machine of Kyle Lewis. And we've been focused on the number 18 machine of Kyle Lewis right there running in the 7th position. And Mitchell, this group of trucks that you're seeing right here, they've all formed up to try and close in on that front lead pack.
Yeah, they're all single file. They find themselves 3.5 seconds back. They're pretty far off those 3 cars. I don't know what gave those SimShots trucks the advantage it did, but you're seeing it right now, and they're not really gaining much. They gained 2 laps ago, but they gave it right back on the last lap. Coming across the line this time, let's see how it compares. They did gain, but not a whole lot, but I think once they get their momentum going, because they just got formed up in the last lap or 2, I do think they'll start to make a lot of headway on those 3 trucks up front. And when they do, I think that really those 3 are going to be sitting ducks when you've got that many trucks lined up in a row. But I really just impresses me, Peter, how far they've managed to pull away. And you see on the graphic, though, really importantly, William Kirwan about half a track off the leaders, well off of any drafting help. So something definitely went awry for Kirwan on that last green flag pit stop.
Yeah, we don't know what that was, unfortunately. In fact, we'll see if we can maybe go back and see if we can find out, because we can do that here on 3-wide TV with some of the software that we use here. Just have to go back. He was, I think, one of the very early adopters on pit road. So let's go back and dial up the 3-wide TV replay here of William Kirwan getting on to pit road. And of course, it's going to completely stop. Not sure why it did that. But here we go on board. No, that's not William Kirwan. I wonder if it freaked out there because it wasn't William Kirwan. Hey, whatever. Here we go on board with William Kirwan on pit road, coming down at pit road speed here. You see everything going okay right now. He's there with the SimShots drivers. So your 3 leaders there, the 62, the 10, and the 5. The only thing I can think here, Mitchell, is he slid through his pit box, and I I don't know. It doesn't look like he slid through his pit box, but I'm not exactly sure. Just sitting there a little bit long, maybe went a little bit long in the box, and iRacing kind of tagged him for stopping so long in his box, and you can see just lost so much time on those SimShots trucks getting up to speed, and they just pulled away. They were all 3 nose to tail, and that will make them a very, and that didn't help right there, getting really slideways trying to get up to speed. So that is the story of William Kirwan, just losing a heck of a lot of time, unfortunately, getting up to speed. And now by himself, he is all by his lonesome right there. As back up at the front of the field, we're looking at the number 21 of Jeffrey Vickery. In fact, excuse me, that was not William Kirwan that we were riding on board with. There is William Kirwan halfway down the backstretch as your leaders are closing in on him, but you haven't missed anything really up at the front here, Mitchell, as Ulrich Cannizzaro and Ben Adams continue to hold on to about a 4-second lead.
They've pulled out about a second from when we were looking at the time, so I'm really surprised by the speed of those 3 cars. I think sometimes in iRacing, having been down on the track, bigger groups of cars can get checked up, and that can limit the speed. But really, I really expected those cars to pull away. As you can see, pulled out half a second 2 laps ago, and another 2.5-ish tenths last time around. We'll look at it again, and coming around about 4.5 seconds later, we're gonna see the split for this lap, another 4 tenths loss. So those trucks really finding something up there. But I don't know, Peter, on that pit stop too, I didn't really see anything other than that little slide coming off. I mean, I don't think he missed the box either, William Kirwan did. He didn't quite stick the landing, but I didn't see anything that would make him lose that much time.
Well, another thing I'm wondering here is whether or not the number 21 machine of Jeffrey Vickery is the right truck to be leading this group. Now, I say that, I was thinking that because we saw some damage on the number 21 truck. Remember, he was involved in some contact in turn number 3 earlier in the race, but it looks like, Mitchell, that he might have used a fast repair, because I'm not seeing any damage whatsoever on the number 21 threat level Midnight Chevy right now. So I wonder if he used that fast repair under that last pit stop. It does it instantaneously. It's 100% damage fixed in not even a fraction of a second. It is instantaneous. So I wonder if that's what happened with that number 21 truck. I was going to say he had that damage, so I wasn't expecting him to be a good leader of a pack, because any damage leads to drag and inefficiency. But I think he used that fast repair, so I take back everything that I didn't say. I was thinking it, but I didn't actually get to say it. I explained it. But the number 21 is getting a push from the 97 of Tellier, trying to close in on the front 3. Now, out back of this particular group, there is a long gap back to these 2 trucks. That is Shane Ledoux in the number 12 with the number 47 of Dalton Hayes. The good news for these 2 trucks is they are still together out there on the racetrack, Mitchell. 2 trucks is huge. If you can find another truck out there on the racetrack, yes, you're not going to be as fast as the big pack, but you're not going to be anywhere near as slow as just a single truck like William Kirwan is right now. In fact, we can bring up the speeds. William Kirwan is running 169 miles an hour going off into turn number 3. Let's check on the 2 trucks of Shane Ledoux, Dalton Hayes. They are, well, they're not much faster, are they? They're running about the same speed. I wonder if that's maybe because of Dalton Hayes with his damage. But typically, 2 trucks is a lot better than 1. You weren't exactly seeing that there, but then you compare that to your race leader, Colin O'Leary, about 15 miles an hour faster, and as you can see, there is William Kirwan. He's been caught by the leaders. He will fall 1 lap down, and what's crazy, Mitchell, is he pitted with the 3 trucks who just passed him.
Yeah, it's just, like we said, we don't really know what happened that caused Kirwan to lose so much time, but falling a lap down, he's really struggling. I mean, hopefully you have to hope that he can catch the draft of these cars, and it looks like he's going to be able to do that. So if we get a caution, Kirwan's going to be the lucky dog. But with 14 laps to go, Peter, do you think we're in the window of more green flag pit stops?
I believe so. I think we'll see one more green flag pit stop here tonight, for sure. When? I'm not exactly sure. Hopefully we go caution-free until then, although William Kirwan right now, he is hoping and praying for a caution. He wants one of those JR's Mobile Detailing Lucky Dog Awards to get himself back on to the lead lap to try and pick up positions, because this is a pivotal race for the number 52 of William Kirwan here tonight, just over 50 points out of the points lead. Of course, next week is the series finale at the Daytona International Speedway, where we go to the legacy version of the racetrack, the very, very bumpy Daytona, which is going to be a lot of fun to round out race number 12 and the series. So we'll just wait and see whether or not we do get that second round of green flag pit stops, but I'm pretty sure we will. And of course, if we bring up the graphic will be telling of that case. We got 21 laps in. We had a couple of drivers go 23 laps in Tellier, Chicano, Rodriguez, and Cam Caldwell, but if 23 laps is the most laps you can make it, we still have, 12 laps to go, and Ulrich, Cannizzaro, and Adams, that's 27 laps. You do the math, 15 plus 12 is 27, but then when you start to get closer to Tellier, Chicano, Rodriguez, and Caldwell, that's only 12 laps from now. That would make it 24 laps. Do you think, Mitchell, that maybe Tellier, Chicano, Rodriguez, and Caldwell, do you think maybe they can save just enough fuel to make it to the end of the race? That would be really, really impressive.
I think that if you came into a run, come into the checkered flag, knowing you needed one lap of fuel, in the position they're in where they're running single file in a pack, I'd say absolutely they could save it. But we're seeing that second pack, they're not quite making the ground up they were. We saw them gain, I think, about 0.8 of a second on one lap, and then these front three picked up William Kirwan, and they've just blown 2 seconds, like 2.5 seconds away from them. So I think the back pack has slowed up, but that could be because these drivers have backed off to save some gas. I definitely think that it is not out of possibility that those drivers can save enough gas to get to the end of the race, and that could be the race-winning strategy if they can do it.
We will have to see. We have seen here on 3Y TV before Superspeedway races won on fuel mileage. They are extremely rare, but they do happen. But we see another one here tonight. Nos Rhino in the chat here tonight saying this series never disappoints. No, it does not. So here tonight, a little bit more tame ever since the green flag pit stop. They definitely put on a show for the fans earlier in the race. Smithfield CEO saying, who loves meats? I am not a vegetarian. I do like certain types of meat, that is for sure. Tana Himmelman saying, way to go SimShots Racing, currently being 1, 2, 3 at the top of the field. Andrew Himmelman saying, let's go boys, SimShots Racing to the front. Of course, Andrew Himmelman is Mr. SimShots himself, doing all the SimShots for all of the leagues, almost all the leagues that we broadcast here on 3Y TV. Daniel Noble saying, where's the Scooby-Doo truck? I don't know, buddy, it's a mystery. I think someone's going to have to find out where the Scooby-Doo truck is. Daniel Noble also saying, do you think they could drift an entire lap? They could draft an entire lap, but I don't think they can drift an entire lap. They need one of those Gymkhana cars to try and drift an entire lap around Talladega Superspeedway at 2.66 miles in length. And Tana Himmelman saying, hey, Drew, how's it going? And Drew, thanks for dropping in here tonight, not on the racetrack. But what I'm seeing here, unbelievably, is the gap between your front three and this pack right here. That gap, we haven't really talked about it, but it has continued to grow. I'm just so surprised here, Mitchell. Right now, Colin Ulrich, John Cannizzaro, Ben Adams, they are 8 seconds out front. The only thing I can think of is that as we have a couple of drivers peeling onto pit road, Ulrich, Cannizzaro, and Adams on pit road right now, as well as Jeffrey Vickery, Stephen Ford, Kyle Lewis, Stephen Doziak. The only thing I can think, Mitchell, is maybe these drivers right here, Alonso Chicano, Matthew Rodriguez, Cam Caldwell, Mike Floppy Tellier. Do you think they were slowing down that pack to save fuel?
I think that it's very possible that they were, and I'm curious to see what pace they're going to run now, single file, because now that they've lost a lot of those trucks that I don't think could have made it, their pace, they can't save as much making a faster pace. So they're definitely going to have slowed down. I think if they can't make it, it's kind of game, set, match for those sim shots racing, the 3 trucks that we saw up front. But if these guys can make it, I don't think there's really any way those trucks that pit are going to be able to catch them.
Now we'll bring up, we just turned off the track map, but we'll bring up the track map again. Your race leaders, bottom right of the graphic, led by the 05 machine, who is, of course, Alonso Chicano that we're focused on right now. Meanwhile, your trucks that are placed from 6th position on back that just came off pit road, the 5 trucks we look at right now have not yet pitted. But then you have the 62 machine of Colin Ullery, who's leading a group of trucks that just came off pit road. You can see it's about a half of a lap difference right now between the 05 and where the number 62 is on the graphic. The number 12 in there is Shane Ledoux, and Ledoux is being scored 1 lap down right now in the orange number 12 that you see right at the top of the screen, or top of the graphic on the backstretch. So yeah, I don't think you can, catch him a half lap. That just seems impossible to do. So we will wait and see whether or not these front drivers have to come down and make a pit stop or not. That will be an interesting turn of events if they make it all the way to the end of the race here. And everyone will be looking at them like they're the geniuses to be able to pull off something like that. Because, Mitchell, I know we both have been on the opposite end of those deals where we just cannot figure out how on earth someone saved enough fuel to make it to the end of the race.
I know there have been races I've lost in that position where drivers around me were able to save a lot more fuel, or I had to back it off like a solid 20 or 30 miles an hour just to get to the end of a race on fuel. So I think as Chicano's pulled quite out, I think earlier in the race, Peter, I'm not sure, but I know on that pit graphic, I think there were some drivers that came back down pit road, as we see William Kirwan now back down pit road. I think he had pitted with, I don't think he pit with the SimShots drivers now that I think about it, but it's possible, but maybe that is a scheduled stop. But I think there were some drivers that came down way earlier in the race at during our first caution and kind of topped off on fuel even then. So I don't know how long these guys have been saving fuel for, but coming to 4 laps to go, I almost expect maybe they can make it at this point.
Well, we'll have to see. Let's see if we can kind of figure it out. I think this will be telling for sure. Let's check out Alonso Chicano's lap time versus the lap time that Colin Ullery is running. And you can see it right there. It's very easy to see. Those last 2 green numbers. 2.4 seconds on lap number 49, 2.8 seconds on lap number 50. Chicano and this group are trying to save about enough fuel to make it to the end of the race for sure with that graphic. That's what that's telling me, because they are 2.8 seconds per lap slower than Colin Ullery. The bad news for Colin Ullery is he's quite a ways back right now. In fact, we'll see if we can bring up another graphic just to kind of show you guys where Colin Ullery is relative to these race leaders. And there you see it. It has come down from 25 seconds down to just under 20 seconds. But the bad news for Colin Ullery, and that's in the last 3 laps, but the bad news, there's only 4 laps to go here, Mitchell. And Alonso Chicano with a 20 second gap, I should say, over Ullery. It's not looking good for the number 62 right now.
No, I think at this point they have to run out of gas for him to be able to get any kind of the position back. And we look at that 57 we talked about, they needed to make up points on him coming into tonight. If he was able to save fuel, he's almost clutched the championship going into the next week. I'm not really sure how the points, specifically what the value for places are in the series, but the gaps definitely come down. But I mean, at this point, with 3 laps to go, he was 16 seconds back. They need to be making about 6 seconds up a lap in order to beat these drivers is it seems like they've slowed down even more. Maybe I'm just making it up, but definitely the pace has backed off significantly from where it could be. And again, we're going to see it this lap, but I think if they run out, it's going to be right in this next 2 laps. Well, of course it's going to be in the next 2 laps because we have 2 laps to go here in the race on 3Wide TV. But I think if they start running out of gas, it's going to be like down the backstretch in turns 3 and 4 of the last lap. So that's when we're going to have to just kind of sit and wait for that to happen and see if that's the case.
The poll was just posted, folks. You don't have a lot of time to go vote, but will they make it on fuel? Let us know what you think. Have they saved enough? Right now, it is Alonso Chicano, Matthew Rodriguez, Cam Caldwell, Mike Floppy Tellier, and John Doble. And Alonso Chicano, the 05 machine, he says no. He says he hasn't saved enough. But Matthew Rodriguez, Cam Caldwell, Mike Floppy Tellier, John Doble, they're going to stay out. They're going to see the white flag here at Talladega Superspeedway. It's the final lap. Do these drivers have enough to make it around? You can visibly see that they are going a lot slower. In fact, what you can see you just saw it at the top of the screen was the next group of trucks. They are closing in on them very, very quickly. You can see the graphic bottom right-hand corner of the screen. I'll tell you what here, Mitchell. If this group of trucks runs out now, they will get caught.
Yeah, they've made their bet at this point. They're just hoping to make it. These drivers here were able to use the draft, though, of Alonso Chicano to get out to the front. Or when he was out front, they were able to take his draft and get off the gas more as they're down 20 miles an hour off the pace. As they're coming through the tri-oval, though, for the final time, still power under the hood of Matthew Rodriguez. It is looking like, Peter, he will get another win. Matthew Rodriguez gonna win it on fuel mileage at Talladega.
Win number 5 this season for Matthew Rodriguez, folks. How does he continue to do it? The answer was yes. They made it on fuel. They didn't all make it on fuel, but how about another win for the number 57 in the Steak and Shake machine? I gotta say, that logo, we said it last week at Monza, that the Steak and Shake number 57, it has some wings or something. That truck is unbelievable. The dominance of the number 57 continues here tonight at Talladega. And like you said, Mitchell, all but locking up the championship going into Daytona next week.
Yeah, I have to imagine his points coming out of tonight as he's getting a little celebratory bump from the 21. He's got to have almost locked the championship up at this point. Just incredible fuel saving by all those drivers, not just the 57. I think your top 3 was Matthew Rodriguez, Mike Tellier, and Cam Caldwell. All were able to save enough gas to get to the end. None of those sim shots truck we talked about who'd been up front, just pace-wise, were able to get to the end. So it's just one of those situations where the pace was there, but just kind of got out-strategized by these guys tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely crazy to see those drivers make it all the way on fuel. Of course, the only driver who didn't was Alonso Chicano, and I just wonder if that was their strategy, that Alonso Chicano knew that he was going to be in that seat where he had to lead that train of trucks around, knew the position of Matthew Rodriguez relative to the point standings, and now has 5 wins and 8 starts here. Just unbelievable stuff for that number 57, and he will stop right here on the start-finish line with Cam Caldwell in the 0-2. What happened to Tellier? Oh, Tellier's out of fuel, getting a pushback from... He's not the winner. That's not right. But to Tellier, they're getting a push from Steven Doziak in the Total Nonstop Racing number 55. Crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. That is for sure. Your winner didn't even have enough fuel to do a burnout here tonight. Well, we will wait for Mike Floppy Tellier to get that final push around to the start-finish line. So what we're going to do here, folks, is we're actually going to do something a little bit different than what we're typically used to. We're actually going to bring up the final race results before we typically do. And We'll just get rid of that graphic up at the top and go down to our final race results here. Winning the race here tonight for the 5th time this season, Matthew Rodriguez by just over a tenth of a second over his teammate Mike Floppy Tellier. His other teammate Cam Caldwell going to come home in 3rd. Colin Ullery in 4th here tonight. Needed a win really to have a good shot at the championship next week at Daytona International Speedway. Did not happen for Ullery. More than likely unable to go back-to-back. I think it would take a huge field next week at Daytona as well as a Matthew Rodriguez DNS to give Ullery a shot at the championship, but don't think that's going to happen. John Cannizzaro in 5th, Ben Adams in 6th. The SimShots Racing Machines finishing 4th, 5th, and 6th. Jeffrey Vickery, Stephen Ford, the Threat Level Midnight teammate 7th and 8th. Kyle Lewis in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, John Doble. There, Mitchell.
Yeah, Alonso Chicano couldn't quite make it work on fuel, and he'll end up 11th place with Steven Doziak Jr. in 12th. And then that rounds out your lead lap trucks with Shane Ledoux finishing 1 lap off the leaders. Same with William Kirwan. Then Dalton Hayes finished 10 laps down, and Travis White DNF'd, finishing 50 laps down. And then JT did not start the race. He was in the race control booth tonight. And that'll round out your race results here for really, Peter, was a very exciting race at Talladega, I think, for a different reason than we both expected coming into this race.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can get our 3rd place driver here tonight for a quick interview up here in the 3-wide TV booth. Let's get Cam Caldwell. Cam Caldwell, Peter Short, 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, the big question for all of us in the booth was whether or not you guys were going to make it on fuel, but it definitely looked like you had more than enough fuel there at the end of the race to get to the checkered flag. The question was going to be, do you think you could have maybe gone a little bit earlier, tried a little bit harder? Of course, you were kind of the caboose of the train for quite some time, maybe able to save a little bit more fuel, but was it the fact that you knew Rodriguez was in the hunt for the championship, or do you think that y'all were all that close on fuel that you were conserving every drop to the checkered flag?
That's exactly it. I knew Matt was in the championship. I could have won that race, but we were all on the line. We pit twice on that one caution we had, and we had that extra lap. And I knew that when we pit under green the first time, that when everyone pit a few laps before us, that no one else would be able to make it. And it was really close, but I had to call it. I told him that I think we can make it, we save. And I don't know if you guys were able to tell on the broadcast, but our pace was slow at the end. So we were just pushing, and Mike was had a lot less fuel than we did. So I backed off and gave him a push just in case. But Matt was able to save just enough. I think he said he started sputtering like right out of the trial. So he almost didn't make it. I had like 0.2 gallons left at the line, so I could have probably won the race, but I think that got us a championship. So I think that's probably better than a win for me.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of teamwork definitely in effect here on the super speedways. We don't often get to talk about teamwork in the way we saw it tonight with Radius Racing all working together to get each and every one of you guys, except for Alonso, to the checkered flag, saving it on fuel. I mean, I'll just ask you the question because you're the first of the three to talk to. Alonso, was he kind of just the leader of the pack? All three of you just said, hey, go up there, Alonso, lead the pack. We want to save a bunch of fuel. Or do you think you guys could have shuffled it around a little bit more to maybe had all four of you get to the start-finish line and save enough fuel?
Yeah, I think Alonso just kind of had to bite the bullet there. They just kind of had, it's the way that we came out. And I think another line went by us on the backstretch when we first came out of the pits, and Alonso hooked up with them and passed all of us. So he was leading our line. Got to the point where we knew he wasn't going to make it because he had been leading, obviously. And so we just told him to stay in front of us for as long as he can, so Matt can draft off of him, so we can all draft off of him. And it worked out pretty well that he had to pit on the white flag. So I don't think we could have really shuffled it around, because I think if any of us went to the high side once, I don't think we would have made it to the fuel, or made it to the end on fuel. So I think it just worked out how it did, and I I feel bad for Alonso, but for the team, I wouldn't really have it any other way.
Absolutely. Well, Cam, before we let you go here tonight, we'll give you an opportunity to give out some shout outs, so let's hear them.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to shout out my grandparents who are watching. I don't think my dad's watching, but if he is, then hello to him too. And all of our sponsors at Radius Racing, like In the Pits News, C2 Graphics, Grid, and all of our other sponsors, and our other guys on the team, especially Alonso for buying the bull on that one, and the other guys for tolerating my fuel strategy. I don't think really any of us thought it was going to work towards the end, but it worked out, so I'm really happy for that. And yeah, this is a good day for us.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on finishing in third, Cam, and hopefully we'll get to see you next week at Daytona.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for our third place finisher, Cam Caldwell. Let's see if we can bring in our second place finisher, the Canadian driver, Mike Floppy Tellier. Mitchell.
Yeah, Mike Tellier, Mitchell Adams in the 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Well, it was a very impressive fuel-saving strategy we saw there at the end, got you a second place finish. Did you think that was going to work there when you committed to that strategy?
I honestly, I let Cam make the decision tonight. Last time me and Cam raced together at Talladega, I was in charge of the pit strategy call, and we were half a lap short. We ran out and didn't get the win. So this time he was in charge, and I guess he somehow found us that half a lap we were short last time, and we made it to the finish line. This was all his strategy, all his call. And apparently it was the right one. I was doubtful.
Yeah, well, it definitely ended up working out for you all in the end, and definitely helps the points standings for you going into the next race in the season finale. What are your thoughts headed into the last race of the season?
There's not really much to think about. I think Matt has the championship clinched now. I don't think anyone can catch him. What do we get for runner-up? Anything special? Like, it's just going to go have fun, try and win a race instead of let Matt win another one.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a runner-up prize. I don't think so, but I wouldn't swear to it. But how hard do you think you're going to be racing there next week to maybe get that second place points finish?
Well, our strategy of stay at the back and relax the first half seems to be paying off. So as long as pit cycles as long as we don't lose the main pack through pit cycles, I think we'll be good. And we'll just kind of ride around and be there at the end. But I don't know. I kind of made a rookie mistake tonight, and I think I brought out the only caution. I just had a huge run and went up to the high side and took myself out, and I can't do that next week, or else I definitely won't be P2 at the end of this thing.
Well, definitely looking forward to seeing you on track again next week. And before we let you go, do you have any shout-outs for us here on the channel?
Radius Racing and all the guys. We worked amazing tonight. Like I said, Cam made this call, and we just kind of listened. So it was good to have a little army to work together with tonight and have something pan out. The guys at TNR, my kids, you guys for the broadcast, Grid, Sim Shots, all our other team sponsors that I can't seem to remember off the top of my head.
Well, thank you for stopping in and talking with us, and congratulations again on a great second place finish here tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, well, that's going to do it with our second place interview here tonight of Mike Floppy Tellier. Let's see if we can pick up winner for the fifth time this season. I think we're going to have to start calling it the Matthew Rodriguez chair up here in the 3-Wide TV booth on Thursday nights. Matt, congratulations. Another win here in the Stream to End MS 146.3. That's right. It is 146.3 miles. And really clinching the championship for next week at Daytona. All you have to do is see the green flag next week around the 2.5 mile Daytona International Speedway. It's kind of a victory lap for you. But first off, tell us about the race here tonight and the strategy to get you to the start-finish line, sputtering to get the win.
And I would have wished they took off at 0.3 off the the race title. We made just 0.3 shorter. That was, I think that was the least fun I've ever had in a car. I usually am not huge on these fuel strategy races. I typically just love to. I'm in that group of hurt her, put her down to the floor and drive, and everything hurts. It worked, and I'm so happy. I mean, Cam came up with a amazing kind of strategy, and we doubted him a little bit along the way, but we didn't think we could make it to the end. I got to shout out Colin and William. They did not make it easy for me. At the beginning of the race, I was trying to do my normal, just hanging back at the back strategy and just kind of make sure I was around to the end. But then I realized that William and Colin were just going for it, and I kind of figured I had no choice. I got to go up there and kind of match them, or at least battle them for just kind of staying at the top of the points. But that is, I'm just trying to think of another like weird way I can win one of these races, because I swear I've won one flying, I've won one sliding, I've actually won one by winning one. Won one on the foot race back to the line. I just, it is amazing.
Well, you keep finding different ways to win, and winning is a good thing, typically. I'm sure everyone else, though, in the field is, ready for you to not win, but what a dominant season it has been. Only 8 starts, but 5 wins. That is extremely impressive, and trying to get 6 wins on the season next week at Daytona. But another very interesting thing, we actually talked about this up here in the booth last week, I think after the race, between me and I want to say JT Poole, because I'm pretty sure JT that was up here with me last week. I've slept since then, right? But
hey, when are you getting JT back in here? JT's a blast.
Yeah,
not. I can't even say. Maybe I should. Let me pump the brakes here. Mitchell's still great. I don't want to put you down. But we love JT also. It needs to be a 3-man booth.
Yeah, JT, he had his first time last week, and I'm sure he will be back at some point for sure. But what we realized last week is you've won the season at Daytona. You've won at Bumpy Daytona. You've won at iRacing Superspeedway. Last week you won at Monza right turning. And here tonight you win at Talladega. You have won at every Superspeedway that we have been to. The only one that you kind of haven't won at was the left turning oval. That went to William Kirwan.
That was a nightmare.
But you still won at Monza. So you have gone to victory lane at every single track in this series. I mean, that is just mind-blowing. And you get to defend your race win from earlier this season. I think it was your first race win of the season back at Daytona, the legacy version of Daytona, next week in what is going to be kind of your victory lap. Because, like I said, championship is all but locked up at this point.
I mean, I would never say never, but I haven't seen the points yet. They have not been updated. I don't expect them to be updated probably till beginning of next week. But how my calculator did it, I should have anywhere from a 55 to 60 point lead. Not really sure how many laps I led, but I should have somewhere around there. And I think really the only way for me to lose it is I just don't show up. But you're going to bet that I'm going to have every alarm clock on for that. But jeez, you just kind of go down to tracks that I've won at and just, man, it has been a long season.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been all too long for you, only 8 races, but absolutely crazy how many wins you have here in the series. But hey, before we let you go, any shout outs you'd like to give out?
Let me pull up my list. Obviously got to give a shout out to Mike Tellier and Cam Caldwell, and obviously Alonso Chicano. I mean, Chicano was kind of integral for that, and he unfortunately took a bullet. He was running out of fuel and decided to kind of stay out that extra lap up front, and he did sacrifice his strategy, but hey, look, it worked. Got to again shout out for Mike. Mike was kind of guiding us through that and yelling at me to stop giving him his fuel mileage because he could do nothing with it at that point. Give a shout out to Mike's kids. They're an awesome bunch. Cam Caldwell, obviously, for calling the strategy. He would have gotten yelled at so much if I sputtered before the end of pit road. Also got to give a shout out to some of the Radius sponsors, In the Pits News, Grid Network, Sim Shots, and the Racing Experts. Obviously, GTR Simulators for allowing us to do this. Again, 5 wins don't really matter very much if there's not someone to pay for it. obviously 3Y TV. You guys are awesome. Cannot wait to go back and watch this broadcast. And Steak and Shake, obviously. Maybe one of these days I'll get sponsored by them.
Yeah, maybe, but hey, you got to go out and get yourself another shake because you're ending up in victory lane again, and probably putting on the pounds now with another milkshake from Steak and Shake. But hey, another win is another win, and that is absolutely awesome. And of course, we'll see you next week to round out the series.
I gotta give a shout out to William Kirwan for still sending me the $5 for winning these races. I remember about after the third one, he told me he's gonna stop sending me money, but obviously, thank you for him continuing to send me out money. I'm sorry to take $25 out of your budget, but thank you very much for providing that for me. It is a huge help whenever my iRacing gets renewed.
Yeah, of course, we mentioned it earlier in the race. The Kirwan Racing Race Winner Award has gone to you many times this season. So we'll see if it goes to you 6 times next week at Daytona. Best of luck there, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks, that's going to do it with your race winner interview here tonight. Mitchell, absolutely crazy. Again, Matthew Rodriguez getting back to victory lane here in the series for the 5th time. I just can't say that enough. I mean, 5 times in any series is crazy, but in a super speedway series where it's all luck of the draw, well, typically luck of the draw, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, won over half the starts in the series. I think I won around 5 races in the trucks last season, and I thought that was an accomplishment in like 24, 25 races. So to do 5 wins in 8 starts, plus on super speedways where really every driver in the field can have a pretty good shot at winning. It's just great driving, great strategizing by him, and looking into next week, looking like he's got the championship locked up and really kind of well-deserved after the streak he's gone on here.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I think that is just about going to do it for us here tonight on 3Y TV. Want to give a shout-out to the series sponsors here, GTR Simulator. Go check them out, gtrsimulator.com. Absolutely awesome to have them on board as the GTR Simulator Superspeedway Series sponsor. Kirwan Racing for having the Race Winner Award that we just found out is still going to Matthew Rodriguez's pocket. Bamauto for sponsoring the Pole Award. There's a link in the description, or an email in the description to them. JR's Mobile Detailing Lucky Dog. We didn't have a Lucky Dog all night long, but there's a link to JR's Mobile Detailing Facebook page. JKR Motorsports for sponsoring the Crank It Up. The Max Grafix Hard Charger of the Race Award, which we still have to give out. The Hard Charger of the Race Award here again, folks. I think this is probably for the 2nd or 3rd week in a row, Matthew Rodriguez picking up 15 spots from where he started here tonight. And, of course, Beer Street Journal for sponsoring the Beer Street Journal Last Call, which we did not have here tonight. We didn't have a green-white checker. I think only 1 caution the entire race. Really, really clean here tonight amongst the entire field. Pretty crazy. But, folks, I think that's going to do it for us here on 3Y TV. So we really appreciate it, and we'll see you again next week. See ya!